Hi gardeners, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I want to cover some tips and advice on how to grow and develop a food forest. So as you can see with the background, I have a food forest of my very own, and it's been in the working progress for many months, weeks, and days, and so much hours have been put into this garden to develop it to how it looks today. Although it is not at its final form, because I can't wait to see how it will look in about a year span and how everything will grow and how everything will look like in one harmony. And the main ideal of a food forest is to have many different varieties or species of plants in the same area and them growing together without having any issues and without you having to be out there every single day caring for them, if not just planting them and letting them grow on their own. So that's why I decided to create a video on 5 tips I have for any gardener out there looking to create their very own food forest. So let's go ahead and move on to tip number 1. So coming to tip number 1 is proper sunlight. So when it comes to a food forest, there's a lot of plants growing in the same area, which all of them require different amount of sunlight or direct sunlight throughout the day. You may have some fruit trees that require 6 to 7 plus hours of direct sunlight. You might have some filler in plants or some shrubs that require 5 to 6 plus hours of direct sunlight. You might have some ground covers that doesn't require a lot of sunlight, if not 3 to 4 plus hours of direct sunlight. And so something I would recommend is to study your area. Check how much sunlight is available throughout the day. And so based on how much direct sunlight is in your garden, I would go ahead and work off of that. Go off with areas that don't have that much sunlight, plant partial sun loving plants. Areas that does have full sun, plant full sun plants in those areas. Just work with the sunlight you have available so you can have a thriving garden. Coming at number 2 is selecting the proper plants. It's really important that you only select plants that are low maintenance, easy to grow, and if you're more towards the food forest side of things, go with plants that are edible, medicinal, or serve some type of purpose. Because the whole ideal of a food forest is allowing you to depend on your garden without having so much time invested into the garden. And so things like banana trees, sapotes, Barbados cherries, yucca, mojito calicaceas, papayas, Brazilian cherries. All of these are great selection of plants for you to choose from because they are low maintenance, easy to grow, and they serve a purpose. Now, not everything has to be edible. Like my mojito calicaceas and my black magic calicasia, those are not edible. However, they do allow humidity to stay in the soil and they amplify the visual effects and they fill in any type of empty space I have. So I really like them because they're low maintenance, easy to grow. They spread like wildfire, which I love because they're super, super pretty, and they make the garden look super, super pretty in general. However, work with what's best in your climate. If you live in Florida, go for heat loving and humidity loving plants because that's what's going to be seen most in your area. If you live in a drought area, go with trees that can handle drought. If you live in a more colder climate, make sure to go with trees that are able to sustain colder temperatures. Always adjust the plants to how your climate is because you don't want to have a tropical plant in a cold area because it won't thrive at all. And then that will have you out in the garden constantly replacing the plants. So to prevent that, choose plants that are best for your area. Coming at number 3 is the proper layout of your food forest. It's really important that you have your canopy layers, which are your trees, the step down, which is more your tall shrubs, your third step down, which is like your filler plants, your more herbaceous type plants, and then finally your ground cover plants that cover up the soil. It's really important that you follow these steps because you don't want to have like a center plant or an herbaceous plant in the middle and have a canopy tree covering all the sunlight available to that plant. And so in order to prevent all that, make sure you take the time to design or lay out your garden, because although if you had a regular vegetable garden or anything like that, it's a constant change. However, with the food forest, I would say it's a little bit more permanent since you have more staple trees in the landscape. So I say it's really important to go through and lay out your garden properly because you want to make sure all your plants are healthy and thriving at the same time. Coming at number 4 is maintenance in general. So when it comes to a food forest, although you're not out there 24/7, it's really important that you still maintain your garden, whether that be pruning, fertilizing, any excess watering. It's really important you keep certain points in mind to have your garden thrive. Because when it comes to pruning, you want to make sure your trees are properly pruned so they're able to flower next year and for your garden to look more neater. You want to make sure you go through and fertilize everything to make sure everything is well fed and given the proper nutrients and minerals they need to thrive, as well as any excess watering you need to do with any new transplants out in the garden or anything that requires a little bit of more water than the other plants in your food forest. So it's really important that you keep in mind the maintenance side of things, because although it's considered a food forest and it grows kind of wild, you still want to keep it maintained, especially if you're like a gardener like me or an agriculturist like me that doesn't like huge mess in the garden, if not a proper order in the garden. And so make sure you have maintenance in your mind in general when it comes to your food forest. And finally, harvest what you grow. The whole main purpose of having a food forest is for you to harvest and enjoy what you grow in your backyard. And it's really important that you grow what you'll eat and enjoy. And especially having beauties like this cabbage right here that I grew in my food forest, it's really, really good to see how you have a constant harvest all throughout the year. Food forest is mainly seen in tropical areas, and so we're able to have harvest all year round. However, if you live in a cold area, you will still have a constant harvest when you are in your peak growing season. And so make sure you enjoy your harvest, because this is something that makes me want to continue my garden and my food forest, because this is just fascinating and just a great sight to see in the garden. So that is your 5 tips on how to grow a food forest. Hopefully I inspired you to create one, especially if you live in Florida or any subtropical or tropical climate, because this is what I love. Seeing everything you plant flower, fruit, grow, develop. It is just the most beautiful thing you could ever see, especially since you're able to depend on your garden and actually grow things like toilet paper. So it's things like this that makes me want to continue my gardening journey. And I know that's something similar we all of us gardeners have, that we love sharing that passion and seeing our gardens thrive. That's just the most precious thing and the most valuable thing of a garden. So thank you all so much for watching this video. Make sure you like and subscribe to support this channel. Make sure you leave me a comment down below on what you're growing this growing season, and if you would like to have your very own food forest as well. Thank you all so much for watching. May God bless you and your entire family, and never forget to grow big, Ultimate Gardeners. Bye, everyone.